Tech Talk with Matthew Dickerson. Matthew Dickerson. Tech Talk. Tech Talk. It's time to talk technology.
Welcome to the Tech Talk unboxing of the iPhone 13. First thing I noticed with the iPhone 13 is no plastic. I love the idea of wrapping something in plastic and peeling it off and having that nice brand new device feeling. But I also get the fact that we should be using less plastic, so well done Apple, you're reducing the impact on the environment, so I can live with that. What they've done instead of the plastic is put some little zip tabs on the back. So hopefully that'll give me the same satisfaction of pulling open that new device just like the plastic used to in the iPhone 11, iPhone 12, everywhere before that. Just before I do that though, you do notice on the back of iPhones in particular, other manufacturers don't do it so much, but the numbers on the back are tiny. And often you're trying to write down the IMEI from the phone, for example, and they are tiny. Now, yes, my eyesight's failing, I'm getting older, so I'm complaining, grumpy old man. But please, Apple, just make that writing just that little bit bigger. The back can still look very attractive just with those numbers a bit bigger. But anyway, I'm getting a bit picky. So let's pull off the actual tab and see how it sounds. I'll just stay quiet for that so we get some sort of degree of, hopefully, excitement out of opening up your new iPhone. Well, it had a kind of solid feel, but no noise. Oh, I thought that was going to give me a nice little rip sound, but no noise there. So let's have a look inside. And of course, the first thing we notice is the cameras look different in the iPhone 13 compared to the iPhone 12. Now, my other minor complaint is they used to put plastic, clear plastic on the front of the phone, so you could actually use the phone with the clear plastic and just keep your grubby little fingers off it for a little bit longer. You want to keep it looking brand new, like a new car. You don't want to get that first scratch on there. You don't want to put the first fingerprint on there. Now, they've put these white protective covers over the phone. They did the same with the iPhone 12. I'd really prefer they go back to clear plastic, but anyway, let's peel this off. And let's turn this one on. There we go. So we'll get that on there. While that's turning on, we'll have a look inside the box. So nothing's changed since the iPhone 12. We've still got the USB-C to Lightning cable. No brick in the box. Again, part of Apple's environmental message is most people have already got a charger. Unfortunately, most people have probably got a USB-A charger or charging brick, not a USB-C charging brick. The cable is USB-C to Lightning. They still haven't gone USB-C on the phones. They've moved that way on their iPad Pro. They've moved that way on the iPad Air, the iPad Mini. Haven't gone that way on the iPhone yet. Probably will come at some stage. So you've got your charging cable. You've also got your sleeve with your SIM pin and the Apple sticker. Most people don't know there's an Apple sticker in there. Maybe you could save on the environment there, Apple, by actually getting rid of the sticker, because I'm not sure too many people know about it. If they do, not many people use it. So maybe save a little bit there as well. Slide that back in, doesn't go back in that easy. So now we'll compare the iPhone 13 to the 12. We'll just sit that here, remove a bit of rubbish. Now here's one I prepared earlier, an iPhone 12. So you'll see straight away that the box looks pretty much the same. The two phones also look pretty much the same. In fact, they're identical in terms of their width and their height. The only thing you do notice there when you look at the front is that the notch is smaller, 20% smaller. The screen is 28% brighter, although it looks like it there, but that's not really showing the screen in full operation. That's just the startup screen. The processor in the iPhone 13 is the A15 Bionic, of course the fastest ever chip in an iPhone, which you'd hope each year when they do bring out a new iPhone, it is the fastest ever chip in an iPhone. So there's the front. Looking at the notch there, again, the only difference there on the front, you'll see there that you've got a wider notch on the iPhone 12 compared to the iPhone 13, What they're going to do with that extra screen real estate though, I'm not sure. At this stage, it doesn't look like they're going to do anything. I thought they might have put the battery percentage up the top, for example, rather than have to swipe down and look at battery percentage. At this stage, it looks like they're just saying it's a smaller notch, nothing else. So stay tuned for that one. If we put the two phones on their edges there, if you have a close look, you'll see they've just moved the buttons ever so slightly on both sides actually. And that's one side. If we turn over to the other side, and you'll just see there, you just see there they've just moved those buttons and the power button and the volume buttons on the sides just ever so slightly. So the chances of your iPhone 12 case fitting your iPhone 13 are approximately zero. Apart from that, you've also got the bump on the back. Again, the size of that has changed ever so slightly. So getting those old cases to try and fit, if you've got an iPhone 12 now and you want your case to go across your iPhone 13, I think you can start to cut a few pieces in it and cut holes in it and change the buttons on the side, or just put a new case on it. I don't think it's designed to fit. And lastly, as I pick them up and move them around, you can feel that, yeah, sure, the iPhone 13 is a bit heavier. Probably about 10 grams heavier. Okay, I cheated. I looked at the specs beforehand. It's 10 grams heavier for the iPhone 13 than the iPhone 12. Probably due to the battery being ever so slightly larger. I can't imagine there's much else in there that adds a bit of weight. So let's assume it's the battery. Now let's look at the cameras and talk about the cameras a little bit. The iPhone 12 compared to the iPhone 13, both have 12 megapixel cameras in them. The aperture on both is identical, but it seems to be the big difference here is the actual sensor size. And you can see that the cameras in the iPhone 13 look ever so slightly larger than the cameras in the iPhone 12. Now, Apple tell us that you'll get 47% more light in the iPhone 13, so the sensors are obviously larger there. And that gives you night mode on both the wide and the ultra-wide cameras. You also have hardware image stabilization on the 13 compared to the 12, which had software image stabilization. Specs in terms of those cameras, you get extra sensors, you get extra processing power. So what can you do with it all? Well, the first thing to do with it is you get Photographic Styles. Now, when I looked at the launch and saw Photographic Styles, it looked a lot like filters to me. Having said that, filters are normally applied after you take a photo. So you can change the warmth or the contrast or whatever you might want to change. People do it in Instagram all the time, for example. Photographic Styles seem to change the style of the image that you're taking, the photo you're taking, before you take the shot, and then you can't really modify it afterwards outside the normal way you would modify a filter. So that seems to be something that is really trying to address a range of different phone manufacturers out there. Different companies seem to have different warmth or different contrast, and this is a way, presumably, of trying to make sure they're covering all bases. You can make the camera be whatever you want it to be, and then that will be locked in with those Photographic Styles. The extra processing power in the iPhone 13 also gives you the ability to run Dolby Vision up to 60 frames per second. In the iPhone 12, you only had the ability to go to 30 frames per second. And then the last one is cinematic mode. Now this is something they talked about a lot in the launch of the iPhone 13. Cinematic mode uses something, or gives you the ability to have something called rack focus. Now, don't be too concerned about it. I'd never heard of rack focus either. Apparently, you'd know all about it if you're a cinematographer. I'm not, so hence I didn't really know about it. But it sounds a lot like the bokeh effect or portrait mode for video rather than for photos. Now we did hear, one of the rumours was we would get that portrait mode in videos. We didn't quite get it, but maybe we kind of did get it. With cinematic mode, you can have the focus on one part of the picture, and they showed a demonstration at the launch where you would move across to another part of the picture, or the character in a scene would turn their head across to another part of the scene, and then the focus would go from that part to another part, just slightly blurring the other parts of it. A lot of processing power required for it, and even on the demonstration you could see just some fragmentation around the images that were being impacted. So in other words, the changeover from what's in focus to what's out of focus, you just saw some little fragments there. A lot of processing power, quite incredible that a little phone can do that compared to what you would normally have in a movie studio, a camera that was obviously much more expensive than a phone and obviously a much larger lens and a lot more processing power. I didn't know that we really needed cinematic mode, but now we've got it, who knows, we might start to use it a bit more. Overall, the camera seems to be a fairly good improvement over the last camera. The front camera also gets Dolby Vision 60 frames per second and cinematic mode. The battery life between the 12 and the 13, don't get too hung up on the numbers. You've got, say for example, video playback, 17 hours on the iPhone 12, 19 hours on the iPhone 13. Again, there's so many variables in how much battery life you'll get depending on what you're doing exactly in your screen brightness and all sorts of other things. Just stick in the back of your mind, the battery life on the 13 has improved and the battery life on the 12. In terms of memory sizes, you've got now 128, 256 and 512. So they've effectively doubled all the memory sizes. And I still find that incredible. 128 gigs as a base memory size. That's a lot of memory. Now sure, with 4K videos, you start to take up a lot of memory space. I don't know about cinematic mode, whether it's going to be higher memory usage than say 4K. Cinematic mode is only 1080p at 30 frames per second, but maybe there's a lot of other information that needs to be stored there, so I don't know the difference in size. We'll have to look at that when we can start to play with it a bit more. But for the moment, 128 gig base memory size, yeah, pretty impressive. In terms of colours, you've got the blue that you've been seeing me use there. You've got Starlight, Midnight, Pink, and Product Red. So 5 colours in there. Overall, I think the 13 probably feels more like an S upgrade rather than a full number upgrade. It's got better battery life. It certainly had an increase in the specs on the cameras and the ability for the cameras to take better photos, take better videos, so there's certainly improvements. No revolutionary features, but it is getting tougher and tougher for smartphone manufacturers to come up with new compelling features. Last year, of course, 5G was the big compelling feature. This year, I think they've just tried to work on improving those two things that most people say they want to get better on their phones. Get better battery life, get better cameras so they can take better photos and better videos. So overall, for devotees of the iPhone, I think the iPhone 13 will be the most popular of the 4 different versions. Good price, good value for money, and some of those features that were only on the 12 Pro last year have now become available on the 13. This has been Matthew Dickinson with an unboxing of the iPhone 13 with Tech Talk.